Watch this.
Public schools adopting new standards when it comes to teaching U.S. history has become a hot topic across the country. Well, Idaho has recently added a new curriculum as well. Should we worry it whitewashes our nation's past? We asked the state superintendent. Speaking of schools, here's a math problem for you. What could you add to a school playground which then leaves you with 2 fewer than when you started? The answer? ADA accessible parts. Tomato, tomato. Leadore, Leadore, or how do you say it? We finally find out after multiple messages from some of you. We saw this press release come in from the governor, Brad Little, back in June that announced new history curriculum for Idaho schools. The Story of America, it was called. The governor's office called a fair, factual American history resource. Not unlike what it took to form this country, the classroom in Idaho and across the country has become pretty much a battleground, but a political one. Lawmakers have spent time pointing fingers at what is and what is not happening in terms of indoctrination. So when a new history curriculum is announced, some people, well, tend to have questions about what it is trying to teach. Some wondering if Idaho is whitewashing realities of America. Well, Joe Paris asked that question of Idaho's top education official about this new program and what it does and does not cover.
I believe as educators look at this, that they will find some very useful information.
State Superintendent of Public Instruction Debbie Critchfield wants to be clear. The Story of America is not a standalone history curriculum for Idaho. It's actually a supplemental resource for teachers to add more color to their lessons.
They're already going out and looking for resources to supplement some of these lessons, and so this provides them an opportunity to go in a free, easy way to go and search through interviews and primary documents that they can share with their students.
So the content isn't a textbook. It's actually an online platform that features videos, documents, and artifacts of history. Imagine, instead of reading a speech from history, why not watch and listen?
In a one-dimensional book that you open up, you're not able to do that. And with this, you can pull something up on a screen, you can click, you can hear people through history in their voice. And I think it just really provides a really full, enriching experience.
Critchfield says she has had 2 very different responses to this new resource. Some love the concept and have thanked her office for making it happen. She says others are skeptical about what the possible content is.
People who maybe don't understand exactly what it is, who are nervous that we're, as the department or the state, trying to provide, this is how we're going to color history and this is how we think every kid needs to understand it. And that's not at all what this is about.
Because I know there are folks that when this came out, they said, well, is this the state of Idaho whitewashing history? What are your responses to that?
Kind of what I just did. My initial reaction is to sort of smile or chuckle a little bit and say, absolutely not. As we look through it, obviously we spent our folks here at the department, the governor's office, his folks, myself and the governor, we went through many meetings and presentations and looked through the materials, because that's exactly what we were trying to avoid.
Samples of the content provided to KTVB show a critical look at American history. No glossing over ugly years and impacts of events like slavery, Jim Crow laws, anti-immigration sentiments, racism, and the rights of women.
We don't want not only the perception, but the actual implementation of saying, here's how we view the world, this is how we want every kid to see it. I believe that this really provides a more comprehensive and it is a deeper look at some of these elements of history that teachers haven't been able to get to because, again, of a very limited published book.
While examining the program and people that are involved in creating the curriculum, some critics point to a statement made by one of the creators of the program, former U.S. Education Secretary William Bennett. He said a reason for the new content is, quote, "For too long, an anti-America ideology that radically misrepresents U.S. history has infiltrated our education system and misled our kids." Critchfield says she has heard similar comments from Idaho parents, but she has thoughts as to why she's heard those here in the state of Idaho.
I don't know that the published books are intended to create a feeling of anti-America, but because we're so brief and so quick in how we go about discussing it, teachers haven't had the opportunity to really explore what it means to be a part of the history that we have as an American. We did hear from some that, you know, of other parties that said, hey, well, are we now going to do partisan education? No. This is an opportunity to supplement, to help teachers. We think this is good quality stuff. And so that I hate that that's clouded, that kind of this political side of, you know, well, because you're a Republican, this is why you want to do that. Well, yes, I am a Republican, and this is good material. I believe we have the greatest country on the earth. That doesn't mean that I look down on other countries, but we have this deep love for, you know, where we are and who we are.
And part of, you know, loving your country is also being honest about the history of it.
Absolutely. And there's nothing in anything that I've seen that leads our kids to gloss over that.
And as a part of the program, there's also other benefits. The Department of Education, the superintendent's office fully realized that during COVID, they realized there was more resources and there was more ways to teach kids in the classroom. Brian, of course, when you have the textbooks that Debbie Critchfield is talking about, that's just one way to look at the actual history itself. But when you have an opportunity to click through a portal, to watch speeches, to go through documents, they realize kids these days, it's easier for them to learn and pick that up. And it's something that they've seen during COVID. Another note is this is optional curriculum for all school districts. If there's a school district that doesn't like this for whatever reason, they don't have to use it. There's expiring federal grant money is really how they paid for this. So $3 million over 3 years. They're going to try it for at least 3 years and see what the reception is.
It's optional, it's supplemental, and it's not paid for by the state.
Correct.
There you go. Thank you very much, Joe.
She is very lovable. She gives the best hugs, and she's a real sweetheart.
If you don't remember, that's a story from Maggie Romero, who reported this last summer. Playgrounds at Seven Oaks Elementary School didn't accommodate people in wheelchairs. So community members, they worked together to raise money for an accessible playground. But have you been to Seven Oaks lately? Because just in the last year, well, no such playground has been built. In fact, the playgrounds at Seven Oaks have only been taken away. They've been demolished, gone. Why? Well, short answer, that's government. Here's Andrew Bartline.
The closer it gets,
school starts in 2 weeks.
The more questions they ask.
Where's the humanity? That's what I keep thinking.
It started with years of conversations to improve the Seven Oaks Elementary playground that now lost its play.
And it's been tainted.
Reduced.
We should be
just to the ground.
We should be celebrating.
Should be.
There were jungle gyms here, there were swing sets, there were slides, and now there's nothing.
Christina Patterson's a parent. She's been involved from the beginning.
So that was in 2016, 17?
It led the West Ada School District and PTA to an agreement. $300,000 to renovate the playgrounds. The district would cover 2/3 of the cost.
And this community raised $100,000 in 1 year.
That's Sarah Morey.
It's amazing.
She's played a leading role to raise these funds, but she's still holding on to that check.
They say they won't take the money.
In February, an anonymous person filed a civil rights claim. The playgrounds failed to comply with the American with Disabilities Act.
And they're just holding the West Ada School District to the federal ADA guidelines. That's what they're doing. And there is no intention of the school district to rebuild all of these playgrounds that are in various areas behind the school.
It's very excessive. It feels like a retaliation.
But the district says it's practical. In May, West Ada asked for community feedback on the 3 playground site designs. PTA documents show overwhelming support for ramps. And looking closer at feedback and the required ADA updates, the district says expected costs tripled the original budget. By June, West Ada sent out an email announcing their intention to rebuild just one universal ADA compliant playground.
There's nearly 600 students at the school. There's too many kids for one playground, wear and tear.
Parents add, this is an unnecessary choice because the Office of Civil Rights Voluntary Resolution Agreement gave options.
It does not anywhere state that demolishing playgrounds is the solution to this.
But West Ada says that VRA agreement is null and void anyway. It was contingent on the May levy. It failed to pass. West Ada is still seeking a final agreement with the Office of Civil Rights, while parents are still looking closely, asking more questions, demanding answers.
I want the school district to look the kids in the eye and tell them this was their best choice. I don't know how they could do that, morally and ethically.
West Ada says there is no final design plan or timeline at this moment that is set in stone. They do expect kids to start the school year without a playground at Seven Oaks, where one will get built later in the fall. As for the $100,000 raised by the PTA, the district says they are encouraging those dollars to be used on a separate project for students at the school. There is a 4:15 p.m. meeting next Tuesday. That is at Seven Oaks. It is to discuss this matter further between the districts, parents, PTA, and it is open to the public as well. Parents say that they're upset of like the mixed messages they say they're getting, Brian, to where originally it was, we have these 3 playgrounds, let's fix them up. Well, then they realize as they look through the budget, the district says, the parents disagree, they can't afford it. So now they're just going to 1.
And I can hear it now and see them now, the text messages coming in. How about this state surplus that we keep talking about? There's some money there that could be used to kind of fix some of this stuff, but school starts in West Ada. It's just 2 weeks from now.
2 weeks from now, yeah.
August 16th. All right, no playground for those kids. All right, thank you very much, Andrew. Sorry for that, kids. Okay, another day, another update to the legal battle between Planned Parenthood and Idaho's Attorney General. Kind of like watching a slow motion tennis match, with each one sending lobs and backhands toward the other. 2 days ago, a federal judge, that would be Judge Lynn Windmill, put an injunction on Attorney General Raul Labrador prosecuting doctors for referring patients out of state for an abortion. This was based on a letter he wrote to Representative Brent Crane back in March, I believe, to say, yeah, Idaho's law says if you're a doctor, you can't assist, as he called it, a patient getting an abortion, and that refers to sending them out of state to get one. Yesterday, Labrador's office filed an appeal on that injunction, and today, well, they want an emergency stay on the stay. He wants to put a stay on the stay while this appeal plays out. This is how this whole thing came together. The article that he put out today, or excuse me, the file, the emergency file for today, he says the Attorney General is going to experience irreparable harm if there isn't a stay. He needs to have the ability to do his job. Secondly, Attorney General is likely to succeed on the merits of his appeal, challenging this jurisdiction to enter an injunction. So he thinks it should be put to a stay anyway. Third, the balance of the harms and public interest favor a stay. So basically he wants that to happen. Just kind of let's put everything on pause until we can figure out this appeal. That gives them the ability to, I guess, still prosecute doctors who refer patients out for an abortion. Meanwhile, here's what Planned Parenthood has to say, because they sent out an email today in response to that, a little lob of their own. Once again, AG Labrador's hypocrisy is on full display for Idaho and the country to see. In no uncertain terms, Judge Windmill made his ruling, and now Labrador is pulling out every stop at his disposal to harm patients and take away even the incremental progress that's been made here amidst the public health crisis that his harmful policies have helped create. So we'll see what happens. No ruling yet today, but who knows, could come the next day or so, and we'll give you an update then whether or not we'll get another order, an appeal or a stay or whatever happens with this lawsuit between Planned Parenthood and Idaho's Attorney General. How many of you remember what you were doing last week? Last year? How about 10 years ago? Well, we're going to tell you what the news was 100 years ago on this day, way over in Filer. Need to jog your memory about how to text us? Well, here's that. It's 208-321-5614. Send us a message and slap on your name and the hashtag the 208. Oh, and don't swear. Keep it short, make it clever. You know the drill. That way, we'll have a good chance of showing it at the end of the show.
1923. First off, right of way. On the corner of Vacation and Markets, watch out for harvest. Producing record for wheat has been established. All previous official wheat growing records were broken this season by the College of Agriculture at the University of California. Boo! When a field of wheat produced at the rate of 110.4 bushel of threshed grain per acre, that is equivalent to 47.6 bags or 6,624 pounds to the acre. Oh my! Swimming pool project a huge success. As the many youngsters who are enjoying the new institution say, come on in, the water's fine. Business is booming. Business expansion noted among local firms. Power company moves to larger local quarters. Jackson starts remodeling of building here. More seeds and more space for the Keeney Bean Warehouse. A salmon, which measured 4 feet long and weighed 40 pounds, was brought home last week by Lester Seeley. Good job, Lester. Flash events. Friday, dancing at the Gem Roof Garden. Saturday afternoon, free motion picture show, Gem Theater, compliments of the Filer Businessmen. Thanks, businessmen. And that's the news on August 2nd, 1923.
Well, it is hot, breezy, and mostly sunny in Boise right now, though we are seeing more and more clouds starting to build up again over the mountains off in the distance. We're at 94 degrees with those winds out of the south at 14 miles per hour. So that is really helping boost our temperatures, keeping us clear and dry here in the Treasure Valley. Not the case in many of our central mountain locations. You can see storms spilling down from the Stanley area, reaching for portions of Elmore County. So Mountain Home, you may get some outflow winds from this system here. There is actually a flash flood warning in effect for a small portion of Elmore County right now because of the 1.5 inches of rain that storm system has dropped. That's monsoon moisture triggering this with a disturbance embedded in the middle of it, so that will keep us stormy through the evening tonight, and mostly in the central mountains, down along the Idaho-Nevada border, and in the Owyhees. By tomorrow, storm chances get more widespread, so it looks more likely for our Thursday that we will have some isolated storms, particularly in the afternoon, though we should have sunshine before that. Still hot tomorrow with 93 degrees on tap. We wrap up the work week on Friday with a slight dip in temperatures, 91, and then generally we hover in those low 90s with lots of sunshine through the weekend. This is slightly cooler than average for early August.
I guess the good news is we're getting some cooler temperatures. We haven't had a lot of smoke in the area because of area fires, and with those storms in the area, probably could hopefully help with putting out some of those fires that are burning across the state right now. 7 of them to be exact, we've been keeping track of, which is kind of usual for this time of year. We've had worse years for sure, but let's tell you about some of the big ones. The Elkhorn fire is the largest fire currently burning, almost 24,000 acres right now, burning around the main Salmon River, 40 miles east of Riggins. They've also shut down part of the river there to recreation, so be aware of that. No one knows how it started, which was back on July 24th. Still trying to figure that out. Also, the Little Bear fire burning about almost 1,300 acres, half a mile northwest of Bear Mountain Lookout. We do know the lightning started that one on July 3rd. It's been burning for a while. Another one started by lightning in mid-July is the Sawtooth fire, burning just under 350,000 acres between Sawtooth Creek and Sawtooth Peak. That's 350,000 acres. That seems like a large fire. I'm going to double check that number. 350 acres, not 1,000, excuse me. 350 acres between Sawtooth Creek and Sawtooth Peak. So now we've got those out of the way, but there are some other fires in the area. One of the biggest ones in Idaho for a large moment, for a long time, I should say. It was burning in Lemhi County. The Hayden fire charred about 22,000 acres in the Salmon Chalice National Forest, still burning. And we've been updating it on the other newscasts since its beginning, which was about a few weeks ago. And in doing so, we often mention the most populated areas near it. We do it as a means of highlighting the danger that some of these people could be facing and as a basic locator in case you don't know where it is. Like the Hayden fire is about 18 miles west of Leadore, or however you want to say it. There is a way to say it. I'm getting to that. There's only about 100 people living there, but those that do or have in the past are very sensitive to how it's pronounced, apparently, as evidenced by the text we got last week. Brian, please say Leadore, not Leadore. Or this one from Alex. Hi, can you all please stop pronouncing Leadore wrong? I'm from Eastern Idaho, and it's not Leadore, it's Leadore. All one continuous flowing word. Y'all make it sound French, LOL. Apologies from LeBois. So we thought we'd get a second, or rather a third opinion from the city clerk to find out how you say it. Lemhi County is known for a few things. It's the birthplace of Sacagawea, a member of the Lemhi band of the Shoshone tribe. It's where Lewis and Clark entered Idaho in 1805, who would then be guided across the Northwest by the aforementioned Sacagawea. It's also where they found some valuable minerals in the ground: gold, silver, and lead. Which brings us to one of just 2 cities in the entire county. Leadore, Idaho. Leadore, Idaho. And what is not known about how you say it. I do know that ain't it.
Leadore, yeah, like lead and ore together. Yeah, that's what the town was named after.
And like a lot of places in the Gem State, mining brought in people looking to make money. And right around the turn of the 20th century, they found deposits of lead ore near a place called Gilmore. That brought the railroad in from Montana and the creation of a town in 1910 at the junction of 2 tracks.
Instead of naming the town junction, they named it Leadore because the lead ore was primarily what was being mined out there.
I mean, why make it tricky? Why make it difficult?
Exactly. I was thinking, not a lot of imagination there, just took care of it.
What's it like in Leadore? What do you guys do for fun there?
Mostly it's outdoor activities like what we refer to as four-wheeling. A lot of people we got here are the Continental Divide Trail hikers. This past year, we even had skiers that came down from the CDT. We're a very favorite place for hunters and fishermen from around the country.
And how many times do you have to tell them how to say the name?
Actually, I've never had to mention that, I suppose. That's funny that you bring that up. That cracks me up.
So I guess it's just us then.
It's just Leadore. And my dad was born and raised here, so I have some attachment to the area. But for crying out loud, if you need a little help in the guidance on how to pronounce the name, that's fine. And I wouldn't worry about all those texts.
Okay, so we won't worry about all those texts, but we do appreciate them, even the two that were sent in before we got to that story to explain that, yeah, we do know how to say it. Gina and Terry Hall reminding me how it's pronounced Leadore. By the way, Leadore has 0 traffic lights, just 2 stop signs, and apparently just one way to say it. A quick question here from Heidi wants to know, why couldn't they just modify the existing playgrounds at Seven Oaks? Well, because that costs a lot of money. And this one here, I even get pronunciations on how to, oh, it's gone. I'll talk about it tomorrow. Never mind.